What's up, everybody? So I just got off the phone with my TCG Player Growth Acceleration Program coach about the new TCG Player 98% compliance rate with the TCG Direct program. And a lot of people are concerned about it. And yeah, there's been a lot of silence, I think, because I think if you haven't been reached out to about your compliance rate, you know, whether you've been doing bad, really, if you've been doing bad, then the idea is that you're fine otherwise. But yeah, just some quick notes that I took during that meeting. 98% has apparently always been their compliance rate. However, they've never enforced it. And so they're rolling out this program to enforce it. And the initial enforcement was to take out the bad actors, people that are way below 98%, like 70, 60, 80% people. I think that took the program for granted. They're the ones that got immediately kicked out without very little warning. And apparently you can reapply to the direct program, but I don't know all the details on that. But if you weren't reached out to, then you're probably doing fine. My coach was actually able to look up my numbers. He said that I have a 4.2% error rate, which puts me at, I think, what is that, 95.8, so almost 96%. So I'm about 2% off away from that compliance rate. But, you know, I told him I really want to improve to get there, and he said that's the right attitude to have, and that's where we want people to be. So the whole point of this was to, you know, if you weren't doing good, they'll reach out to you. If you're in the 90, 94% range, you know, they're probably going to reach out to you, tell you, hey, we want you to improve your numbers. And, you know, you'll hear some advice, and maybe they might have someone as a resource for you. I don't know. I wasn't reached out to, and according to my coach, he said that he has no concerns for me, even at, you know, 96% roughly. I do plan to try to get better, and I already have been. I've been re-auditing my whole collection just to make sure everything is as, you know, described and numerically positioned, you know, for stock value, etc. And so, yeah, TCG Player apparently is under the impression that, you know, 2 errors per 100 is more than adequate space, especially for those sellers who have thousands that sell on a regular basis for TCG Player. You know, because if you have 1,000, then that gives you about 20 cards that can be missing or not as described, etc. Which, I don't know. In my mind, I aim for 95% just because statistically, that's what it takes for something to become a fact. If something can be shown to be true 95% of the time, then generally research is going to say that that is true. And that's what you see, at least in health research, which is something that I have a background in. But that's why I aim for that. Little did I know that that was still a little low. And 3% off, so if I'm aiming for 95%, they want 98. 3% is a lot over a long span of time. But that being said, they said that that percentage improves per RI, reimbursed inventory. And so if you get 100% with one order, but it was only, I don't know, 100 cards, and then you get, you know, 97% in an order of, let's say, I don't know, 50 cards, then they still average together, even though those orders individually with the cards was vastly different. So they're just looking at that bottom line percentage number. So strategy you can have to improve your number is, once you hit 50 cards, turn off your store, make sure all those cards are as described in there, and then once they make a reimbursement order, turn that in. If it's 100%, then you'll slowly but surely improve that number if you're below 98%. So that's kind of what I'm planning on doing. I'm not gonna let these RIs exceed, I don't know, 80, 100 cards, just because it's just gonna be a lot easier for me to regulate just how I do with my reimbursement invoices. So I think that's it. If they haven't reached out to you about your numbers, then you're probably in good standing. Keep up the good work. Obviously, do what you can to improve, because if you do start declining, they aren't going to just reach out. They're not going to just, you know, cut you out from the program ASAP. There is a process that's in place, and if they have reached out, then that is going to be a continual process, and they have a separate department for that is enforcing this. And so my coach actually isn't in that department, but he was able to, look at my numbers for me, give me some information, and he was really cool. He said he wanted to be a resource for me, even though I'm graduated, so to speak, from the growth acceleration program. He still wants to help me out, make sure I'm doing okay. And so, yeah, he's a great guy, and I think TCG Player is a great company. They've done a lot, I think, for collectors and players and sellers alike. So I want to make sure I do well by them, despite, this being kind of a high demand. I think it was necessary for those who took it for granted and just weren't compliant with any kind of accuracy, or didn't really have a ton of standards for themselves, didn't really care for that 98% compliance rate. So it's tough. I'm not a huge, I wouldn't say fan, but I'm not a fan of it, just because it's sharp, but people pull that off. There are some stores that have 98, 99% compliance, 100% compliance, just because they have so many systems and processes in place to make sure there's no errors. And I think a lot of sellers need to be like that. And, I think with the advent of eBay's purchase of TCG Player, I imagine this is probably just another thing that eBay, one of their execs or one of their efficiency managers, people that are probably, Lean Six Sigma certified, are looking at their background stuff. Somebody who's just got a ton of experience is just in the background asking how they can improve and driving things. And so I do think this is probably a byproduct of the eBay effect. And so, yeah, that's all I've got to say. So if y'all have any questions or comments on the topic, just let me know. And might be able to reach out to my coach about some of those questions. But overall, y'all have a blessed day. Thanks.